Good morning. Good Monday morning. Welcome to another Manic Monday, folks. Hey, I'm your host, Matt Morgan, and thank you for tuning in to Soapbox Daily. We're on episode 96 today, and I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope it was a fun-filled weekend for everybody, and got some relaxation and some fun in there somewhere along the lines. I had a busy weekend. You know, parental responsibilities, driving, doing chores, running around, you know, the usual stuff. I had to deal with a crazy driver on Saturday morning. I guess some people are just cranky after a Friday night going into a Saturday morning, and I was driving my kid to swimming. I had to deal with some idiot on the road, but you gotta be careful. Watch out for those crazy drivers. All right, so on that note, hey, how has your integrity been this weekend? Were you being the positive change? You're being the change the world needs. It's a brand new week, folks. We could keep trying to be better, keep trying to evolve, keep trying to be the best we can be. That is the secret. That's what we gotta do. And I don't know if any of you had a chance to go over to the website and check out all the details about us. GetOffMySoapbox.com. Feel free to check that out. We are probably, I don't know, I'm debating on whether or not I want to start doing a video about my gameplay, because I do a lot of gameplay. And I'm toying around with that idea. I might make another channel on Twitch and on YouTube. I'm not really sure about that. My primary focus, of course, is the podcast, as you are listening to right now. So I'm debating on that, but I'll explain all the infrastructure as I, figure it out moving forward. If you are interested, that'll be out there. So today, let's go into today's show, because, that's why you're here. Today, our show topic is it voyeurism or people watching? That is our show topic today. And I guess what actually inspired this was ever since the dawn of me being on the internet, which is like the mid-90s. I know it's before some of you were born, but in the mid-90s when I got on the internet, I noticed a lot of things, and I wanted to see what the connectivity was like. I wanted to see what it was like. Supposedly this was a national or international, type network and all over the world. So, I started exploring and stuff, and I found one thing that was very interesting, and to me it's always been interesting, is webcams. So in the early days even of the internet, people were putting out webcams, which is really cool because you could see parts of the world that you haven't been to or never imagined going to. But these were like live feeds, and they were like really neat because I could go over to Iceland and see what was going on in Iceland at that moment. I could go over to like Europe and see what was going on at that moment. And as the internet kind of evolved, and don't get me wrong, I like it's just an adventure seeing other parts of the world, but also you'd get some web cameras, even traffic cameras, which ended up people watching. So they would show a street, and they would show traffic, and they would show what was going on. And I found that was really interesting because for me, I've always liked people watching. I've always tried to understand humankind. I've always tried to understand what makes us tick. Why do we do the things that we do? Why do we act the way we do? And so people watching as a study, as an observation to try to understand. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but what I've noticed when it comes to people is that we're all alike. We're so much alike, it's unbelievable. Doesn't matter your culture, your creed, where you're from, anything like that. Pretty much 99% of us are pretty much the same. We go through the same struggles, same worries, same routine. We are so much alike, it's unbelievable, but for some reason we always have this indifference. But that's another show for another topic, etc. So I like people watching. And what I've noticed when it comes to these webcams is, as the decades went on from the mid-90s till now, these cameras turned inward. It wasn't necessarily just showing the landscape and showing a busy street or showing stuff around the city. Now, as evolution of the internet went on, we're turning those cameras inward, and now we're at an era where we're observing each other, ourselves. We're turning the cameras into our everyday lives. We're showing our places of sleeping, of living. And I like people watching, don't get me wrong, but this is where it brings up the topic of today. Is it voyeurism or people watching? I like people watching. And if I watch somebody's web camera that's showing their everyday activities and that turns into nakedness and sexual acts, well, first of all, why would people do that? Why would people do that, expose themselves that much? And two, have we become that desensitized that people don't care if a camera's on them? And they don't keep anything to themselves. Like, they're free-for-all show. Just show everybody everything that's going on. Like, where does it draw the line of something being just sacred and behind closed doors? Where does it become public domain? I like people watching, but it doesn't mean I seek out to... I mean, if I wanted to seek out watching naked people have sex, there's websites for that. There's tons of websites out there on the internet for that. I do like watching web cameras. I do like watching people for the sake of people and human behavior, which I find is very interesting. This voyeurism is considered a bad thing. It's sneakily going behind and sneaking around and watching people engaged in sexual acts without their knowledge. But if you purposely live in a house or a location or an apartment or a dwelling where you have put web cameras all over the place, is it really voyeurism? Because you willingly know these cameras are there, and yet you're still engaging in everything that you would normally. Maybe you're putting on a show more so? I don't know. As I said, I like people watching. I don't find it particularly interesting to watch them engage in certain acts, but let me just speed this up a little. What I find is interesting is we've become a society where when you think it's just in your backyard, when you think it's just local to you, it's interesting to see that the behaviors that even happen in your household happen in other places of the world. I've noticed this is an increased addiction to cell phones, increased addiction to oversleeping, increased addiction to a lot of the same activities and a lot of behaviors from other parts of the world. I'm watching web cameras on occasion, and I let me just stress, I seek out people watching. I don't seek out nakedness. I don't seek out watching people go at it. And I just find it's interesting watching everybody's daily routine. I've come to the conclusion that certain people, I've come to the conclusion Caucasians can't dance. I've come to the conclusion that a lot of people are just trying to fill time. I've come to a lot of conclusions when it comes to human nature. And I think the biggest thing is that although we are so connected in a world of technology, we all feel, not all of us, but a good portion of us feel lonely. And that's what I'm observing from watching these cameras from all over the world. A lot of us are just lonely. We're just lonely. We're just trying to fill that void, as sad as it is. But I don't know. I find human nature interesting. And yeah, I like people watching. And I'll be honest with you, I pretty much turn off the camera or switch to another camera when it starts getting a little too personal for my liking, in the sense that, hey, certain things I believe should be held behind closed doors. But unfortunately, we become desensitized to the camera in our face and in our space. We are openly willing to share everything. And it's sad. It really is. And I'm hoping that people could start veering the other way eventually and start keeping stuff a little more sacred, a little more personal, a little more not for the prying eyes and not for everybody to see. Let's bring it back into being something that's sacred behind closed doors. It's not keeping secrets. It's just keeping a sense of dignity and pride. I know there's reasons why people do what they have to do, and desperate times call for desperate measures. But at the end of it all, keep in mind that, as I said before, whatever's on the internet will follow you forever, because nothing comes off the internet. It's there forever, and it's going to follow you for the rest of your days. And if you're willing to make that sacrifice, well, that's on you. But if you're ever looking for something better than what you currently have, keep in mind that will haunt you. So my question, I guess, for today is it voyeurism or is it people watching? If you check out people's webcams and they just happen to do things that are private, I mean, that's up to you. Personally, for me, I'm going to stick to the looking at the sunsets and looking at the scenery and looking at the busy streets. I want to stick to those cameras because to me, I find those are more interesting than watching somebody run around their house naked. But that's just me. Hey, I'm your host, Matt Morgan. I want to thank you very much for listening. By all means, share your feedback. I'd like to hear from you over at Mad Soapbox on Twitter, or send me an email. All the contact information is on getoffmysoapbox.com. I hope you have an amazing Monday moving forward. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you next episode.